One woman said Franken groped her during a photo at an event hosted by the Minnesota Women's Political Caucus in 2007. People are saying that this is a right-wing conspiracy. It's not. I'm a liberal person. I voted for him after this happened. The second woman said Franken cupped her butt in 2008 at a Democratic fundraiser. My immediate reaction was disgust, but my secondary reaction was disappointment. I was excited to be there and to meet him. And so to have this happen really deflated me. But according to Alvaro Bedoya, the executive director of Georgetown Laws Center on Privacy and Technology, ICE is building a dangerously broad tool that could be used to justify excluding, or deporting, almost anyone. A group of engineers, computer scientists, and other academics wrote to acting DHS Secretary Elaine Duke of their grave concerns about the program, saying it would likely be inaccurate and biased. Carissa Cutrell, an ICE spokeswoman, told ProPublica the request for information was simply that an opportunity to gather information, to determine the best way forward. Peter Thiel, the Silicon Valley billionaire investor who funded ex-wrestler Hulk Hogan's lawsuit against Gawker, is seeking to pause the sales process of the now-defunct website, arguing that he was unfairly excluded from making a bid. According to a bankruptcy court filing obtained by BuzzFeed, Why It Matters, the buyer of Gawker.com, the rest of Gawker Media's properties were acquired by Univision last year, will be able to do with its contents as they please, including deleting specific articles. There are still ongoing legal actions over a few articles in the archive, though Thiel never admitted as much. It was long rumored that his decision to help Hogan was fueled by unflattering coverage of him and his business activities over the years, including a 2007 story about the fact that he is gay. The bombshell report from the New York Times last month on decades of sexual harassment and assault by producer Harvey Weinstein started a domino effect as other women spoke out about mistreatment by men in positions of power. The Trump Organization has made a deal allowing it to walk away from the Trump Soho Hotel by the end of the month, according to the New York Times. Why It Matters. Per the Times, the hotel has struggled to attract guests and had to close its main restaurant in April due to what the restaurant's lawyer called a decline in business since the election. The Trump Org faced several lawsuits over building the hotel, per the Times, one of which alleged it was backed by felons and financing from Russia. Russian-born businessman Felix Sater, who has been in the news following the election for having pushed for a Trump Tower in Moscow, was involved in the deal. The scene, per the AP's Foster Cluj. It's 3:11 p.m. on a cold, grey day on the North Korean side of the most heavily armed border in the world, and a lone soldier is racing toward freedom. His dark olive-green Jeep speeds down a straight, tree-lined road, past drab, barren fields and, headlights shining, across the replacement for the bridge of no return. The shock of soldiers watching the Jeep rush by is palpable from the video released Wednesday, and no wonder they're beginning to realize that one of their comrades is defecting to the South. The defector crashes his Jeep into a ditch. The South says North Koreans fired about 40 rounds from AK-47s and rifles at the defector. No fire was exchanged between North and South Koreans. The defector makes it over the border, and then turns around and runs back towards the north before collapsing by the wall. South Koreans crawl to pull him to safety. The entire sequence, from the first appearance of the Jeep to the soldier's frenzied crossing, lasts 4 minutes. A clue to life in North Korea. The defector had 2 surgeries to repair internal organ damage and is conscious. Surgeons removed dozens of parasites from the soldier's ruptured small intestine, including presumed roundworms that were as long as 27 centimeters (10.6 inches), which may reflect poor nutrition and a health in North Korea's military. Unlicensed and unregulated experimental vaccines were administered to at least 8 herpes patients in the United States, in direct violation of U.S. law, according to an investigation by Marisa Taylor at Kaiser Health News. The experiments were conducted secretly for several years in a Holiday Inn Express and Crowne Plaza hotel near Carbondale, Illinois. What we already knew. William Halford, the associate professor at Southern Illinois University who conducted the experiments, died of cancer this summer. Halford had previously been accused of dodging U.S. oversight laws by running trials out of a house on the island of St. Kitts in 2016. The St. Kitts and Nevis government says they were not notified of the research. Why It Matters were not allowed to do this in guinea pigs in this country, let alone human subjects, herpes expert Anne Wald told Kaiser Health News. Money. Despite the controversy, a number of investors, including Peter Thiel, have invested several $1 million in rational vaccines, the company founded by Halford and Hollywood filmmaker Agustin Fernandez III. Deception. Halford, who was not a physician, took clear steps to cover his tracks, telling participants to keep the experiment a secret and writing that it would be suicide if he became too public about how he was conducting his research, writes Taylor. Complications. Patients have reported side effects from the vaccine. Kaiser Health News reports that one participant's fear that the vaccine gave him a new, different type of herpes is possible contamination. Not only were the trials conducted in violation of U.S. law, they were conducted using live viruses. Live virus vaccines are traditionally handled in extremely sterile areas, which Holiday Inns are not, to prevent contamination. Manipulation. Halford used patients' desire for a cure to manipulate them into joining the unauthorized trial. People underestimate how desperate people with genital HSV are, Wald told Kaiser Health News. Denial. Southern Illinois University, which previously denied it had any knowledge of Halford's action, refused to comment to Taylor. Read the full Kaiser Health News report here. The company's joint statement. The commitment was made as part of wider efforts by the global energy industry to ensure that natural gas continues to play a critical role in helping meet future energy. Its role in the transmission to a low-carbon future will be influenced by the extent to which methane emissions are reduced.